So let's go ahead and learn about variables and what are variables and how they are used inside Java. Okay, so variables are box for storing data value. Okay, I want you to understand that they are box that are used to store data value. Okay, data value. Now let's have an example, just a very easy example that will help you understand what are variables. Okay, over here I have a box, and this box is an empty box, and inside this box you can store only one thing. Okay, you can store books, you can put a phone inside, you can put a pencil case inside, but you can only store one thing. In picture number 2 we have decided to store a book inside. Okay, and for us to be able to get this book outside this box, we have to call the name of the box. Okay, and once you call the name of the box, we will be able to get what is inside the box. Okay, so this box is a variable. Okay, and this box can store a value. Okay, and that value can be a name. Okay, can be an integer. Okay, can be a character. Okay, so yeah, basically that's what variables are. In Java there are different types of variable. So we have different types of variables. For example, we have a string. Okay, now a string can store text such as hello. Okay, and the string values are surrounded with double quotes. As you can see over here, the hello is surrounded with double quotes. So this is the first example of a variable. Okay, so the second one, we have a float. Okay, and a float is used to store point numbers with decimals such as 19.99. So the range is 19.99 all the way to negative 19.99. So it's only used to store point numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the next example, which is an integer, and this is used to store integers, into brackets, whole numbers. Okay, without decimals. No decimals in integers such as 123 all the way to negative 123. So within that range, those are the numbers that you can store, okay, using an integer. Then let's move to the next one. We have char. Okay, char is a character. It's a single character, so such as A or B, and it's used to store characters, so like A and B. So notice that we have only one quote over here, but in string we have double quotes. Okay, so char values are surrounded by single quotes. They're surrounded by single quotes. Okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and understand the syntax, the variable syntax. So to create a variable, you must specify the type. This is a type over here. Okay, and assign it a value. So this is the syntax. So it's type, variable, and then the value. Now type can be a type string. Okay, it can be an integer, it can be a character, it can be a float. Okay, then the variable is the name. So let's take an example that the type is string and then the variable is name. So we're gonna assign a name. Okay, a value is the name. Okay, the name of let's say hello. Okay, so let's just go to IntelliJ IDEA and see how this thing works. So let's go ahead and create a variable called name, and then the of type string. So let's go ahead and create a variable called name of type string, and then we're gonna give it a value John. Okay, so John will be the value. So let's go ahead and say string. Okay, and then let's say this string, let's go ahead and say string, sorry, just like that. And then this string has a name. Okay, so this string has a name, and then the name is John, just like that, and then semicolons at the end. Okay, so this is our first variable. Okay, the variable is name, the type is string, and then the value is John. Okay, so that means that we have been able to save this name John inside our variable. Okay, so if I go ahead and do a sort and say name, sort name, and then run this program, you will see that it will print John. Okay, so that means that inside this variable we have a value called John. Okay, so print name, and then once you print the name, you will get the value. Okay, as I told you in my earlier example, is that if you want to get what is inside the box, you have to call that box. So I'm calling this name. Okay, and once I call this name, it's gonna give me what is inside the box. Okay, so let's go ahead and also have another example. We're gonna create a variable called number of type integer and assign it a value 15. So this is the type. We're gonna say int, just like that, and then let's say number. That's the name of the variable, and let's say 15 is the integer, just like that. Okay, so this over here is the type, okay, the data type, and then we have the variable, okay, which is number. So we are giving it name number because it's a number, and we're saying name over here because it's a text. Okay, but inside here we're gonna give it as a number. Okay, and then the integer is 15. So let me go ahead and do a sort to and say number, just like that. And once I run this program, you will see that I'm gonna have 15 being printed out. Okay, so you call the name of the variable and it will give you what is inside the variable. Okay, so let's go ahead with our next example, and this time let's use float. Okay, see, this is the data type, and then let's say that this data type is my, sorry, so this is my float, just like that, and then is equals to, and I told you that the number is supposed to be decimal number. Okay, so if I go back to this slide over here, we say that for float we only able to store point numbers with decimals, and the range is supposed to be from 19.99 all the way to negative 19.99. so I'm gonna go ahead and just choose and say 5.99. so that's a float. Okay, and I need to just add an F over there. Okay, then put a semicolon, just like that. So if I go ahead and sort and just type my float just like that and run this. I'm able to print 5.99. Okay, now let's go ahead and also use a character. Okay, so that's a character, and then you can assign it a variable and say this is letters, just like that, letters. And then let's look for a letter, the value, which is it's gonna be, let's say, A. Okay, so if I go ahead and shout and call these letters just like that and run. Okay, so you see that I'm able to print A. Okay, now if I go ahead and add another letter and say this letter is B, you see that I'm not allowed to add another letter, okay, because it only stores one item. Okay, so that's it. Then let's go ahead and use boolean, and booleans, they always return true or false. Okay, so boolean is the data type, and then the variable name is my. Okay, and then say bool, and this variable can be anything. You can name them anything as long as that name makes sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and assign a value and say that this is true, just like that. Okay, so if I go ahead and shout and say my bool, okay, and then print this out, so run and print it out. So you see that you can print true. Okay, so that's basically it when it comes to variables. Okay, so we have the first data type, which is string. We have the second data type, which is an int. Then we have a float, we have a character, and then we have a boolean. So when you're creating a variable, just make sure that you give a name to your variable. Okay, and make sure that you assign the data type. Make sure that you know which data type that you want to use. Then after that, you assign a value. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll catch up with you on my next video.